When researchers at the University of Vermont used a text mining computer algorithm to analyze more than 1,700 novels, they found that pretty much all of them can be described by one of six story arcs. One of them is Rags to Riches, where the main characters experience a steady rise from bad to good fortune. Perhaps that is the story that best fits our economy after the Industrial Revolution. But one of the other story arcs is Icarus, the Greek god who flew too close to the sun and melted his wings. In stories like Icarus, there is a rise and then a fall. Will that be the story of the next few centuries? Are the doomsayers right? Then humanity is destined to pay for our economic glory with economic collapse? These predictions of an impending apocalypse are nothing new. It was fashionable even before economic growth was lifting billions out of poverty to suggest humanity's good luck was certain to end. We already talked about Thomas Malthus and his predictions that humans would never escape a subsistence level living due to slow technological change and the inevitability of war, famine, and plague. His model for the economy worked for a time, but has been a poor predictor of late. Nevertheless, many an academic has become rich from the sales of books about our collective demise. Paul Ehrlich's bestseller, The Population Bomb, earned him a lifetime of being taken seriously as a public intellectual, despite being wrong in every prediction he made about the decades that followed its release. The book, The Limits to Growth, was another bestseller, which confidently claimed, with the backing of sophisticated computer analysis, that we would completely use up many essential resources by the 1990s. None of those predictions were even remotely correct. Over and over again, people have suggested that human ingenuity would not be enough to save us, and that our market economy would not adapt fast enough to changing conditions. They were wrong every time. Norman Borlaug is considered the father of the Green Revolution, which was a series of initiatives in the 40s, 50s, and 60s which increased agricultural production worldwide. He helped develop high-yield wheat crops and introduced them to poor and developing nations. He's often credited with saving 1 billion people from starvation. In 1970, he was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize for his work. Paul Ehrlich understood trends and numbers well enough to see a problem down the road. What he didn't account for was Norman Borlaug and others finding clever ways to buck the trend. We're still riddled with worry, though. Perhaps the environment will kill us. Climate change is a real problem, and perhaps it will be severe enough to wipe us out, or at least send us back to the Stone Age. Or perhaps a giant asteroid will smack into the face of the Earth and bring an end to us all. Or maybe we need to be worried about these supervolcanoes which could erupt at any time. We really should take these things seriously. Extinction-level events which threaten humanity's entire existence are worth making large sacrifices to avoid. Climate change will likely cost future generations 10% of their income or more. And so if mitigating climate change costs us less than that, there's a significant moral argument to be made that we should mitigate those effects. And we probably want to invest more in asteroid defense and monitor those volcanoes. But even all together, these risks are pretty low. Climate change is unlikely to throw us back to the Stone Ages, and the others are just very unlikely to happen. So, what should we be afraid of? Robots and aliens might be bigger threats to human beings. The creation of artificial general intelligence, which is an artificial intelligence as capable as a human, could destroy humanity, as could an alien invasion. That's no good for humans, but it wouldn't be the same as an economic collapse. After all, the robots and the aliens would likely continue in our stead. And it probably won't be you and me enjoying multi-million-dollar incomes in a couple centuries' time anyway. So who cares if it's robots or aliens enjoying it instead? Well, yeah, some people will care. There is a big problem, though. When we look out into the stars, We don't see anyone else. The universe is vast, dark, cold, empty, and dead. If we met aliens, we might be afraid of them and afraid of what they might do to us. But we should be more afraid of the fact that we don't see aliens out there. Because it means no other civilization has made it far enough to colonize space, which means it's probably unlikely that we will get there ourselves. And it's not just that no aliens have come and said hi. Life does not look like not life. Lichen looks different than the rock that it grows on. Human civilization looks different than Earth, and you can tell we are here from a good distance out into space. But we don't see any intergalactic superhighways streaking across our night sky. This is a problem known as the Fermi Paradox, named for Enrico Fermi. Fermi noted that when we look to the stars, we see countless other galaxies, each with billions of stars and billions of planets. And yet out of a billion planets, we haven't noticed any unnatural changes to the universe. No stars covered by Dyson spheres, no experiments which warp space, no massive artificial eruptions of energy. Where is everyone? The economist Robin Hanson proposed the following framework for thinking about the Fermi paradox. On the path to becoming an intergalactic species, life has to pass through a series of hurdles or filters, and some just don't make it. Certainly one big filter is having life at all. When we look at the other planets in our solar system, they seem to be completely dead, with no signs of life of any kind. So just getting life is a big step for a planet. Then that life has to become multicellular. Maybe this is inevitable for any life which manages to break past a certain threshold. It could be that once a planet has life, seeing the life become multicellular is pretty likely. Not every filter has to be as challenging as the other. But on and on the filters would go, with life passing certain milestones on the way to building an advanced civilization, as we humans have done here on Earth. But there are filters still ahead of us. We need to survive the asteroids, volcanoes, and climate change, as well as each other, before we can advance far enough to go on our galactic conquest, spreading through the cosmos. There are many different filters we could add, but the question is, have we gotten through the toughest filters already, or are they still to come? This is why it would be very bad news if we found life on Mars, or one of the moons of Jupiter, or somewhere else close by. We know that the filters life has to pass through to make a visible dent in the universe are so strict that no aliens in the visible universe have accomplished the feat. If the toughest filters are behind us, that bodes well for the filters still ahead of us being easy to get through. But if the filters behind us were easy, then it means the ones still left are almost impossible. Finding life on Mars would mean getting life started isn't such a hard filter after all. So that raises the chances that the ones ahead are impermeable, and that there's something out there that's going to kill us all. But even without life on Mars, the news is not good. We don't know whether advanced civilizations are easy to reach, as we have, or hard. But we do know that we are a lot more likely to be living in a universe where they're easy than where those filters in our past are hard. This is called the Anthropic Principle, and essentially it tells us that we should expect to be in the universe most likely to produce us. And that would be a universe where reaching civilization is easy. So odds are good that eternal economic growth really is a fairy tale, and that there's something out there that will put an end to our advancement. As noted, just probabilistically, it isn't likely to be asteroids, supervolcanoes, or climate change. So what should we be worried about? Probably each other. War, pandemic, or a totalitarian world government which simply puts an end to our growth and stellar dreams are the most likely candidates. I'll be keeping my fingers crossed, though.